regards to analyzing anime characters, which is the bread and butter of my channel, aside from the plethora you find enjoyment in this video, and maybe it will give you something to think about, even for a fleeting moment in regard to the series, other anime, as well as yourself, where you'll only realize why I'm saying everything that I'm saying at about 40 minutes in, where everything will click together into the grand picture of Saitama. I bring you the ultimate analysis of Saitama, the protagonist of One Punch Man. So, my experience with One Punch Man, watching it the first time around, I viewed it purely as a comedy series, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. The dynamic of Saitama being the most powerful being, as opposed to your average anime protagonist who was attempting to become that most powerful being, but now that he's become so strong, he finds pointlessness in his life, and now he's bored, and honestly, it's a hilarious dynamic that simultaneously is inherently funny, while also poking fun at literally every other battle trope shonen, and it's that type of meta humor that really hits me hard. Now, that said, viewing him as a depressed character and someone who has mega mental issues is easy. In fact, that's exactly the character that they're trying to get across. But after my second viewing of One Punch Man, I started realizing that everything that's viewed in a completely parody, gag, comedy way can also be seen as a very dry and witty humor, ironically being a metaphor to something in our everyday life, most present within One Punch Man being the psychology of different people in different scenarios. It's this sort of double meaning in every scene and in every joke character in One Punch Man that really got me to start loving the series more and more with every analysis I started making. And funnily enough, of course, everything ties into Saitama. I've made a video analyzing the greatness of the power system in One Punch Man, the greatness of the threat levels in One Punch Man, despite meaning absolutely nothing to someone like Saitama, who's infinitely stronger than any threat that they can come up with. I've even talked about many of the villains in length, like even the stupid crab dude in episode 1, or the mosquito in episode 2, or even characters like Goketsu, who Saitama killed off screen, and their importance to the entire story, as well as completely to be funny. It's only funny because he's bored in contrast to everyone else who's working really hard. He's tired in contrast to everyone who's struggling for their lives. His humor is contrast, but not at all coming from himself. Saitama does not realize how much he's suffering. The reason why I'm trying to point all this out, and I'm trying to elaborate why every aspect in the show is attributed to this very central theme of Saitama's mindset in any given state, is because when people talk about tragic anime protagonists with tragic backstories or tragic lives in general, Saitama is not necessarily the one that they're going to pick first. I mean, Naruto's parents were killed and he was ostracized by his village. Asta was looked down upon for having no magic and not being nobility. So on and so forth for every single anime character, how they all actually had a tragic life. Saitama didn't have any tragic backstory per se. He's just bored. And while that's completely and unequivocally true, this story